The humid air of rural Iowa clung to everything, a thick blanket that promised a sweltering summer. I wiped sweat from my brow, the sun already relentless as it climbed higher. My hands, calloused and ingrained with the soil of generations, tightened on the steering wheel of the old pickup. Another season was upon us, and with it the familiar gnawing anxiety that settled deep in my gut. This farm, my grandfather's, then my father's, now mine, was both a legacy and a burden. Every seed planted felt like a wager, every harvest a high-stakes gamble against nature and the unpredictable whims of the market. My older brother, Mark, had escaped this life years ago. He traded cornfields for concrete canyons, tractor fumes for designer cologne. He saw the farm as a relic, a monument to a past best forgotten. Every family gathering was a fresh opportunity for him to subtly, or not so subtly, remind me of my choice to stay. He thrived in the cutthroat world of corporate finance, his success measured in numbers I couldn't even fathom, and he made sure everyone knew it. My parents, God bless them, tried to bridge the gap, but the chasm between us grew wider with each passing year. They saw ambition in Mark and perhaps a quiet resignation in me. Today, however, was different. A pre-arranged family lunch, supposedly to celebrate my mother's birthday, felt more like a tribunal. Mark was flying in, undoubtedly armed with tales of his latest triumphs. I knew the drill: polite inquiries about the farm, followed by thinly veiled pity and unsolicited advice about diversification, or worse, selling out. The thought made my stomach churn more than the morning coffee. My corn crop was looking good, better than good actually, but in Mark's eyes it was just corn. And I was just the farmer. The scent of roasting chicken and my mum's famous apple pie filled the house, a comforting aroma that usually eased my nerves. Not today. Today, it was just another layer on the growing tension. Mark arrived, precisely on time, looking as if he'd stepped out of a magazine. His tailored suit seemed almost an insult in our rustic farmhouse, and his smile, while outwardly pleasant, held a hint of condescension. He greeted my parents with enthusiastic hugs, then gave me a firm, almost patronizing pat on the back. "Still wrestling with the dirt, huh, John?" he chuckled, his eyes sweeping over my faded jeans and work-worn hands. The conversation at the dinner table was a predictable dance. My mother, ever the peacemaker, tried to steer topics towards neutral ground, but Mark's stories of his latest multi-million-dollar deals kept pulling us back to his glittering world. He spoke of investments, mergers, and market trends, a language foreign to me, yet one my father seemed to absorb with a quiet admiration. I could feel my cheeks growing warm, not just from the warmth of the kitchen, but from the slow burn of resentment. Every word he uttered felt like a comparison, a measurement of our vastly different lives, and in his eyes I was always found wanting. Then came the inevitable. Mid-meal, between bites of pie, Mark turned to me, a casual smile on his face. "So, John, how's that little corn operation of yours coming along? Still planting the same old hybrid, or have you finally embraced some modern technology? You know, out in the real world we embrace innovation. You could probably sell off a few acres, invest that capital, really make something of yourself." He laughed, a short, sharp sound that felt like a knife twisting in my gut. My little corn operation. My entire life's work reduced to a dismissive quip. The air in the dining room seemed to thicken, a palpable silence falling over the table. My parents exchanged worried glances, a familiar dynamic playing out once more. I could feel my jaw tighten, the muscles in my neck coiling. For years, I'd swallowed his taunts, his dismissive comments. For years, I'd let his words chip away at my self-worth, making me question every decision I'd ever made. But something snapped inside me that day. Maybe it was the exhaustion of the season, the pressure of the impending harvest, or simply the cumulative weight of all his past insults. I put my fork down slowly, deliberately. The clinking sound seemed amplified in the sudden quiet. My gaze met Mark's, and for the first time I didn't flinch. His smirk faltered slightly, replaced by a flicker of surprise. "You know, Mark," I began, my voice steady, despite the tremor in my hands, "it's funny you mention making something of myself. Because that's exactly what I've been doing right here. I paused, letting the words hang in the air. A challenge. The conversation shifted abruptly. My mother tried to interject, to lighten the mood, but I held her gaze, a silent plea for her to let me speak. My father, usually so quick to defend Mark, remained quiet, watching me with an intensity I hadn't seen in years. This wasn't just about Mark and me anymore. It was about the validation of my life, my choices, and the legacy I was trying to uphold. I knew I couldn't let his casual dismissal go unchallenged this time. The rest of the meal was a blur. Mark, thrown off balance by my unexpected directness, quickly changed the subject, talking about his plans to fly to Europe for a business trip. But the tension remained, a silent undercurrent beneath the forced pleasantries. As we moved to the living room for coffee, I knew my moment had arrived. This wasn't about anger anymore. It was about showing him, not just telling him, the depth of my commitment and the value of what I did. I had a plan, something I'd been working on for months, a culmination of years of quiet effort. I walked to my old leather satchel, which I'd deliberately left by the front door. My heart pounded against my ribs, a drumbeat of anticipation and a touch of fear. This was it. This was my chance to stand tall. I pulled out a thick, official-looking document, its pages crisp and clean, contrasting sharply with the faded patterns of the old farmhouse rug. Mark, oblivious, was still regaling my father with tales of his latest acquisition. I cleared my throat, not loudly, but with enough firmness to draw their attention. Mark paused mid-sentence, his eyes flicking to the document in my hand, then back to my face, a hint of annoyance crossing his features. "What's that, John, your annual fertilizer bill?" he asked, a sardonic chuckle escaping his lips. My mother gasped softly, but my father simply watched, a growing curiosity in his eyes. I held his gaze, a slow smile spreading across my face. If you're enjoying the story so far, remember to subscribe to the channel for more chapters and to follow John's journey. I walked over to the coffee table, a small antique piece inherited from my grandmother, and carefully placed the document down. It wasn't a bill. It was a contract, thick and substantial, its cover emblazoned with the logo of one of the largest food processing corporations in the country. The title, boldly printed, read, "Exclusive Grain Supply Agreement." The ink on my signature at the bottom of the last page was still fresh. I pushed it gently across the polished wood, sliding it right next to Mark's empty coffee cup. Mark leaned forward, a frown creasing his brow as he read the title. His eyes widened slightly as he took in the sheer volume of grain specified, the long-term commitment, and then finally the figure at the bottom of the page, a figure that represented not just a good harvest, but a multi-million-dollar contract. His face, usually so composed, betrayed a mix of shock and disbelief. He picked up the contract, his hands, accustomed to the smooth feel of expensive paper, fumbling slightly with the heavy stock. My parents leaned in, their expressions a mixture of confusion and dawning understanding. My father's hand, gnarled and strong, reached out and gently touched the document, as if to confirm its reality. I watched Mark's face, the color draining from it as he processed the implications. His earlier laughter, his condescending tone, they seemed to echo in the sudden, profound silence of the room. This wasn't just corn anymore. This was a statement. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, punctuated only by the distant chirping of crickets outside. Mark slowly laid the contract back down, his gaze fixed on it as if it were some alien artifact. The usual smug confidence that clung to him like a second skin had vanished, replaced by a genuine astonishment I'd never seen before. He looked up at me, his eyes searching, trying to reconcile the farmer he dismissed with the man who had just placed a multi-million-dollar deal on the table. There was no mockery in his voice when he finally spoke, just a raw, unadulterated question. How? I sat back, a quiet satisfaction spreading through me. For years, I've been cultivating not just corn, but relationships, I explained, my voice calm and steady. I've invested in sustainable practices in new technologies, not the flashy kind, but the ones that truly improve yield and quality. I diversified, not by selling land, but by growing specialty grains, by adapting to what the market really needs. This contract isn't just about a good harvest this year, Mark. It's the culmination of years of hard work, smart decisions, and building trust in an industry you clearly don't understand. My father, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke, his voice filled with a quiet pride. "Your grandfather would be proud, John," he said, his eyes welling up slightly. My mother, tears in her eyes, reached across the table and squeezed my hand. In that moment, surrounded by the tangible proof of my efforts and the silent acknowledgement of my family, the weight of expectations I'd carried for so long began to lift. This wasn't just a contract, it was my vindication. The atmosphere in the house shifted dramatically after that. The easy, dismissive air Mark usually carried was gone, replaced by a quiet respect. He still had questions, of course, but they were different now, no longer laced with scorn, but with genuine curiosity. He asked about the logistics, the challenges of managing such a large-scale operation, the market fluctuations. He was seeing the farm and me through a new lens, one that recognized the complexity and intelligence required to succeed in agriculture. We talked for hours, long after the pie was gone and the coffee had grown cold. I explained the intricacies of modern farming, the constant learning, the unpredictable nature of weather, the balance between technology and tradition. He listened, really listened, for the first time in years. It wasn't a lecture. It was a conversation between two brothers, finally finding a common ground. He even offered some advice, not about selling out, but about managing the financial aspects of a large contract, sharing insights from his world that were genuinely helpful. As the evening wound down and the summer twilight painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Mark stood up to leave. He extended his hand, not for a perfunctory shake, but a firm, heartfelt grip. "John," he said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I was wrong about you, about all of this." He gestured vaguely around the farmhouse. "This isn't just dirt and old equipment. It's a real business, a big business, and you're damn good at it. I'm proud of you, little brother." Those words, more than any contract, were the real triumph of the day. If you're enjoying the story so far, remember to subscribe to the channel for more chapters and to follow John's journey. The weeks that followed the contract signing were a whirlwind, each day bringing a new wave of tasks and decisions. The news of the multi-million-dollar deal spread through our small farming community like wildfire, carried on the winds from one field to the next. I felt a mix of admiration and, if I'm honest, a few envious glances from some of my neighbors. It was a big deal for a family farm like ours. But more importantly than the local buzz, the contract instilled a newfound sense of confidence that permeated every inch of our operation. My crew, already a dedicated and hard-working bunch, seemed to work with a renewed vigor, their shoulders straighter, their movements more purposeful, knowing their efforts were now part of something truly significant. I hired on more hands, bringing in extra help to manage the increased scale, and we invested in upgraded equipment, larger planters, more efficient harvesters, watching with a quiet thrill as our operations expanded, a tangible sign of our growth. Surprisingly, Mark became an invaluable source of support. The condescending big brother was gone, replaced by someone who genuinely wanted to see me succeed. He called regularly, not to boast about his own achievements, but to check in, to offer practical advice on financial structuring for such a large sum, and even to connect me with some of his contacts in logistics and transportation. His corporate world, once a distant, intimidating realm that symbolized everything I wasn't, now offered unexpected and valuable resources. We found ourselves discussing common challenges, managing large-scale operations, optimizing efficiency, navigating complex agreements, despite our vastly different industries. The chasm that had stretched between us for decades had finally narrowed, replaced by a solid bridge of mutual respect, built brick by brick with shared insights and genuine concern. The harvest itself that year was monumental, an almost poetic culmination of all the years of struggle and resilience. The fields, stretching under the vast, endless Iowa sky, yielded an unprecedented bounty, stalks heavy with golden ears of corn. Trucks lined up for miles along the dusty roads leading to our farm, waiting patiently to transport the precious cargo to the silos, then onto the bustling processing plants. There were long days that bled into even longer nights, fueled by countless cups of strong black coffee and the easy camaraderie of a team working relentlessly towards a shared, ambitious goal. The physical labor was immense, pushing us all to our limits, but it was coupled with a lightness in my spirit I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just about survival anymore, about scraping by until the next season. This was about thriving, about building something truly lasting, a legacy not just of land but of prosperity and purpose. The signing of that contract hadn't just changed my relationship with Mark, it had profoundly impacted my perspective on my entire life. The nagging feeling that I needed to justify my choices, to apologize for choosing the earth over the office, simply vanished. The farm wasn't just a place where I worked day in and day out. It had become a living testament to my dedication, my unwavering resilience, and the clear vision I'd held onto through every lean year. It was a vibrant, evolving place where innovation and tradition didn't just coexist, but actively complemented each other, where the rich earth consistently provided, and where every ounce of hard work truly paid off in ways more profound than just financial gain. With this newfound stability and success, I started looking beyond my own fields, seeking ways to give back to the very community that had supported me through all those lean years. I invested enthusiastically in local agricultural programs, offering internships to eager young people who were genuinely interested in farming, sharing my hard-won knowledge and practical experience. I also spearheaded the effort to organize a cooperative for local farmers, aiming to secure better prices for our produce and negotiate more favorable terms with distributors for everyone involved, not just myself. My focus had expanded far beyond the boundaries of my own property. I wanted to see the entire region prosper, creating a stronger, more resilient agricultural future for us all. The relentless Iowa sun still beat down, and the work remained as demanding as ever, a constant cycle of planting, tending, and harvesting. But the anxieties that had once plagued me, the constant worry about crop failures or market crashes, had significantly receded. They hadn't vanished entirely, of course, for farming is always a gamble against nature's unpredictable hand. But now, those worries were thoroughly overshadowed by a profound and exhilarating sense of purpose and accomplishment. I was no longer just a farmer tending his land. I was a contributor to my community, a burgeoning leader, and a passionate advocate for a way of life I deeply cherished. The soil beneath my feet, once just dirt, now felt firmer, more supportive, imbued with the weight of my dreams and the fruits of my labor. Looking out over the expansive fields now, freshly tilled and patiently awaiting the next planting, I felt a deep, pervasive sense of peace settle over me. The distant hum of machinery on a neighboring farm, the rich, earthy scent of freshly turned soil, and the vast, endless expanse of the Iowa sky above me. This truly was my world, and I was not just surviving in it, but actively thriving. The multi-million-dollar contract, while a monumental financial success, was more than just a balance sheet entry. It was a powerful catalyst that had redefined my most important relationships, particularly with my brother, and had fundamentally solidified my own sense of identity and purpose. Mark and I now had a standing call every Sunday, a ritual neither of us missed. We talked about everything from the unpredictable ebb and flow of market trends to the latest family news, our conversations now entirely free of the old resentments and unspoken criticisms that had plagued our past. He even brought his children to the farm for a weekend, letting them experience the simple, unadulterated joys of rural life, a world so profoundly different from their bustling urban upbringing. They were utterly fascinated by the massive tractors, the curious farm animals, and the sheer overwhelming scale of the entire operation. It was more than just a visit. It was a profound reconnection, a slow but sure healing of old wounds, and the building of solid new bridges for the next generation, ensuring our family's future was intertwined, not fractured. My corn farm, once the subject of Mark's casual amusement and thinly veiled disdain, had become a powerful testament to perseverance, to smart, strategic choices, and to the enduring, unbreakable power of family bonds. It taught me that true success isn't always measured in the gleaming boardrooms of corporations or the fluctuating numbers on stock tickers. More often than not, it's found in the richness of genuine relationships, the quiet strength of one's character, and the profound, almost spiritual satisfaction of seeing something you've nurtured with your own hands come to full, abundant fruition. And as the majestic Iowa sun began its slow descent, painting the boundless fields in magnificent hues of gold and amber, casting long, peaceful shadows, I knew with absolute certainty that the very best was still yet to come. If you've enjoyed John's powerful journey and want to see more stories of resilience, unexpected connections, and the enduring strength of the human spirit, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more compelling narratives like this one to life, inspiring and connecting people through authentic storytelling.